Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, September 10th, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. Dibra citizens will vote tomorrow for their new mayor. The citizens will choose between two candidates running for the position. Yesterday, the political parties closed their candidates' campaigns for today's electoral silence. 57,000 Dibra citizens are expected to vote tomorrow in the 118 voting centers. The center will open at 7 in the morning and will close at 7 p.m. The Central Election Commission announced today that it has begun distributing the electoral materials, and the Dibra police stated that they have finished the officer training for those appointed to guard the voting centers. Police officers were trained for guarding the processing tasks and are equipped with special identification documents produced in collaboration with the Central Election Commission. These buildings will be protected by police from the moment the election materials arrive. A supervising group has been set up at the Dibra Police Directorate for managing the electoral process in terms of police guarding. There are 118 voting centers in the Dibra municipality. All will have a police presence. There are also 15 administrative units, and each unit has a responsible administrative group, reads the police announcement, ensuring safety maintenance in Dibra during the electoral process. According to the data, 268 domestic and foreign observers have been accredited for this electoral process in Dibra, where early elections are being held after the scandalous dismissal of former Mayor Shukri Jalili, who appeared in a video demanding sexual favors in exchange for a job. Just hours before the start of voting in Dibra, political parties have changed more than 98% of the commissioners. The Central Election Commission expressed its concern in a media statement through its spokeswoman, who noted that even the few commissioners who participated in the training process will not be able to follow the process tomorrow because the political parties have asked for their change. Just before we start distributing electoral materials, the political parties have requested to change their commissioners in 116 voting centers and asked for the appointment of new members. Changing 98.3% of the voting centers' commissioners will not allow those commissioners who were trained by the Central Election Commission to be part of the electoral process, the Central Election Commission spokeswoman said. Under these conditions, the CEC took all the measures through CEC inspectors that are present in Dibra to train the new commissioners before electoral materials arrived at the voting centers. 126 companies across the country have declared bankruptcy. The Taxation Directory submitted a list of businesses to the court that want to close their activities. Some of the businesses have failed to complete the bankruptcy procedures, although they submitted the request years ago. A significant increase in the number of companies seeking bankruptcy has been noticed recently. According to the General Directorate of Taxation, 118 companies declared bankruptcy in 2015 and another 126 this year. Big companies that have contributed to the country's economy were noticed on the list. With 36 businesses closing, Vlora has the largest number of businesses declaring bankruptcy, and more are coming. Durrës comes in second with 27 companies closing, and in the capital, there are 6 companies which have declared bankruptcy. The current bankruptcy law is prohibitive, as the procedures require years for a company to gain the status of bankrupt. However, during this time, the company's liabilities to the state are added, making the repayment of the debt unaffordable. Complicated bankruptcy procedures force the government to draft a new bill, which is currently under discussion in parliamentary committees. The new draft foresees the establishment of a bankruptcy court as a structure within the district court, specifically to handle bankruptcy procedures. The law will establish clear deadlines for application submissions to begin bankruptcy proceedings, as well as for debtor appeals and to launch the court hearings, all within 1.5-month period. Also, the International Monetary Fund has asked the Albanian government to find a solution to the bankruptcy impasse, which may require up to 5 years for the procedures. The International Monetary Fund thinks that credit growth in the private sector of Albania remains subdued, as banks remain risk-averse given the significant number of non-performing loans. The International Monetary Fund highlights that credit for the private sector has declined since early 2015, although the data is affected by a recent regulation mandating loans that have spent 3 years in the loss category become write-offs. In its analysis, the IMF urged the Albanian government to continue focusing on fiscal adjustments while supporting growth through monetary easing. Reducing public debt over the medium term will require sustained fiscal consolidation. The IMF suggests a strategy based on broadening the tax base, improving tax compliance and administration, and implementing structural reforms to help lower debt levels while allowing space for more productive public spending. The IMF's report highlights that the revenues were on track for the first 4 months of 2016. The value-added tax fell short of program targets, likely reflecting the impact of low inflation. Local taxes also fell short, underscoring the revenue mobilization challenges facing the newly established local government units. By contrast, income tax, excises, and social contributions performed well and provided a nearly full offset. The authorities' campaign against tax evasion, noncompliance, and informality might be paying off, as shown by the increase in the number of Social Security contributors and companies that were either newly registered or reclassified under the VAT, reads the IMF report, adding that the Albanian economy has started to recover, especially in the energy sector. The IMF has not changed its expectancy for a 3.4% economic growth for the year and 3.8% growth for next year. The Democratic Party MPs received some high school graduates from around the country who were not picked first for the university enrollment, even though they have high grade averages. The Democratic Party's Secretary for Republic Relations declared that 628 complaints were registered by students so far in the DP's portal, and she gave assurances to the students that the Democratic Party will support them. Having a 9.7 grade average in high school and not being picked first by a university is a great injustice. The Democratic Party's portal has received 628 grievances so far by these excellent but unsatisfied students, declared the Democratic Party Secretary for Public Relations. The DP's Secretary for Civic Action considers the higher education reform as unjust and demanded the resignation of the Minister of Education. This is a greatly unjust reform. It favors some students unfairly and leaves the best students out of the universities. For this reason, we are asking the Minister of Education to resign, declared the Democratic Party's Secretary for Civic Action. The recent high school graduates conveyed the problems they encountered during the application process for admission into university. The students are rejecting the first phase of the university admissions process, claiming that the merit transparency principle is not being applied and the best students are not being accepted into universities. The Labor Inspectorate has issued an appeal to companies to be careful when employing minors. Minors have been involved in jobs inappropriate for their age, which has led the Labor Inspectorate to be more attentive and add extra controls on private companies. During a meeting with Durrës's coastal area employees, the Director of Labor Inspectorate advised companies not to hire minors without first obtaining an authorization from the Labor Inspectorate. Recently, we have put minors in our workforce as our priority, particularly during the summer season in the coastal areas. The Inspectorate has issued 150 authorizations for minors' employment. The authorizations are necessary to monitor minors' work. Companies cannot employ minors without an authorization, which is issued by the Labor Inspectorate, declared the director. Also, according to the Labor Inspectorate, after several inspections looking for those working under the table, the Director of Labor Inspectorate discovered 470 employees to be included in the Social Security scheme in the last 3 months. However, more than 800 employees have signed work contracts and can legally take advantage of the rights that belong to them. Tirana's mayor honored the renowned Albanian singer Bibi Rexha with the Key of Tirana and the British DJ Fatboy Slim with the symbol of Tirana Tower. The mayor said he was honored to receive these two world music stars in Tirana and that he is happy such famous singers of Albanian ancestry have recently performed in Tirana. The Albanian singer and the British DJ both gave a performance yesterday evening at Mother Teresa Square in front of thousands of young people. The Albanian singer got emotional when speaking about Albania being her country of origin and declared to be happy to sing in her country. She was born in New York, but her origin is Albanian as her parents immigrated to the U.S. in 1980. Singer Bibi Rexha is also a songwriter and a record producer. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.